everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my channel. It is time to pack for costume college. After a whopping 3 years, because the last time was 2019, it is finally time to pack for another giant costumed trip that I have to fly to. Now, I have done a packing video in the past which had to do with Dapper Day, and I think it was 10 or 11 days of vintage fashion, but of course this is an entirely other ball of wax because this is 5 days kind of ish. I mean, I'll be there for 5 days, but it's not technically 5 days of historical fashion. But yeah, it's a lot of historical fashions. It's 6 historical costumes that all have to fly with me from Seattle, Washington to the Southern California, LA area. And that's a lot to get on an airplane. Now, luckily, I am flying Southwest because I love flying Southwest for costume college. No, this is not sponsored, but like, please, Southwest, if you ever want to, I'm here. I love flying Southwest for costume college because you get 2 free checked bags. There is just no possible way to do a trip like this without 2 checked bags. Plain and simple, if you're gonna bring 6 historical costumes, you need 2 checked bags. And to be honest, most of the time, I really don't have a problem with being able to fit everything into my bags for costume college. And so this morning, when I first started planning all of this, I thought, yeah, this is gonna be the same as normal. It's not a problem at all. I've got a couple of costumes that share eras, which is always really, really helpful. I'll get into tips as we go, but that's always a very helpful thing is when you share eras, because that means you share undergarments. And I was like, no problem. And I had gone through about a month ago and decided what it was that I was going to bring. So if you are familiar with my past videos on this channel, all of these are projects that I've made in the past 3 at this point years. And the outfits that I'm going to be bringing, just to give you a heads up, are going to be my 1880s Daisy fancy dress costume, my 19 teens Hussif fancy dress costume, because that one's really mobile and I'm teaching a class, so I needed something nice and mobile for that. My new natural form gown, the periwinkle silk natural form gown. The 1870s, early 1870s Tissot bustle, that big pleated one that you also saw me wear to the Victorian Festival. The velvet ribbon gown, but like the evening bodice version that I also wore to the Victorian Festival. And I made that bodice most recently of all of these projects on my channel a few months ago. And that will be for the gala. And then finally, I will be bringing the 1830s spring plaid dress that I made last spring in 2021. So those are my 6 costumes, plus of course a little bit of regular normal fashions for like the day before and the Monday after costume college. And again, at first I thought, oh, this is not going to be a problem at all. And then it hit me. The 1830s dress has a rather large bonnet, which I knew. I had always planned that this bonnet was going to be one that I carry onto the plane. I have done this before with an 1830s bonnet. I carried it in 2 of those really, really giant Joann's bags, kind of wrapped both ways together over each other so that it was fully covered. And I believe on one of the flights, the flight attendant let me hang it in like the first class closet or like the flight attendant closet or something like that. And then in another one, there was just a lot of overhead space, and so it went in the bin. But first off, this is how big this bonnet is. So as you can see, it does not actually fit in the frame. If you did not see the making of video of this, I did actually do an entire video on this bonnet, so I will link that down below. But yeah, so that was the first thing. And the second thing was that I forgot that there are feathers on this. I don't remember how removable I made these feathers. I really hope they're removable because obviously I cannot put a hat with feathers on it into plastic bags. This sort of thing would need protection. So, I think they're glued in. Why did I do this? Why did I do this? Well, I'm gonna have to figure out some way to unglue them and then sew them back in when I get there because obviously these can't go in a plastic bag. So that was item number 1 of whoops. But 1 hat, that's fine. To carry 1 hat on the plane, like not a big deal. And then I started making my packing list this morning. And the way that I was making the packing list was going through each outfit and listing off every single piece of that outfit. So every undergarment, every accessory, every regular piece of the garment, every hat, every prop. And then I remembered the daisy dress. Oh, the daisy dress. So for one thing, there's the daisy dress hat. This is a fairly large hat. Now, luckily it is a pretty flat hat, so it's probably going to be okay in a suitcase on its own without a hat box, which is good because this hat is larger than I'm pretty sure any of my hat boxes. Now, I will get to this in a little bit, but normally for packing hats and other small accessories, especially things that are fragile, I will actually take a hat box, put the hat box in my suitcase, and then put those fragile accessories packed neatly in there so that they can't, you know, jump all around in there. So it's actually a pretty full hat box, but everything is very detailed in its placement so that it fills up and it doesn't all shift around, because that is, of course, when things can get damaged. But again, I'm pretty sure this is larger than any of my hat boxes. And then I remembered the prop. Yep, that's right. The daisy prop. I would really like to have this with me. Again, this is flat, like, you know, I can put it on the top of a suitcase and then close the lid kind of thing. But really, why did I choose this outfit? No, I know why I chose this outfit. It's because I'm really excited about actually wearing this for something other than a photo shoot, because that is all I've done. I've worn this for 2 photo shoots and that's it. So I am wearing this for the pool party for Costume College, because it will also be one that hopefully will be cool to wear outside, because I am not acclimated to heat and this is a light and airy costume. But I do really want to bring this prop, so we'll see how this goes. Of course, then I remembered that wasn't the only prop that I needed, because of course my Hussif dress has this prop, a giant needle with thread attached here at the end, which is a wooden dowel. Now again, this can pack flat, but unlike the flower, which has some malleability in both the flower head and also the stem, because it is actually like a metal wired stem from flowers, this is a dowel. So of course, if this gets any pressure on it in any way that it's not supposed to, it will snap. And then of course I remembered that this is not the only needle in this outfit, because fitted into the apron are 4 more smaller needles, also wooden dowels. What was I thinking? So now I'm panicking. Now I'm really wondering if I'm going to be able to fit this all in my suitcases, and I'm going to take you on this journey with me. And I am going to try my hardest to have this video out before Costume College so that you can ideally use this as pointers and tips if you are also attending Costume College this year and it doesn't get like buried, you know, before you need it for next year. But what that does mean is A, my petticoats are not currently starched. They do need to be starched. So they will take up more room when they are starched as opposed to right now. And B, I will actually wind up packing everything and then unpacking it, because today is Tuesday of the previous week, the week before Costume College. I don't fly until Wednesday of next week, and things will get super, super wrinkled and crushed if I leave them in the suitcase for that long. So in reality, I will be repacking everything on next Monday to make sure everything's all good to go. But I am going to try to do this video today and tomorrow, maybe just today, so that you can actually use this video for your own packing tips. So let's go ahead and grab the suitcases. Lion wants to tell you that he doesn't want me to go anywhere. He sees the suitcases out and now he's really, really nervous. But the first thing, and I was about to pick up the suitcase, now he's crawled into it. Lion, can I have that? Great, thank you. I promise I'm not going anywhere yet. The first thing that I want to talk to you about is suitcases. So mainly you need to get practical sized suitcases. Now, of course, this one is a large checked bag here, but the other part that's important is to have a carry-on bag that is an actual bag, like not a backpack, not a purse, etc. I mean, you're gonna have one of those too, but remember, you can have 2 carry-ons and one of them should be a larger carry-on. I got like the largest size carry-on that I possibly could that is allowed, so it is regulation sized. I haven't even used this yet. I got this at Black Friday last year, but it is regulation sized, but it's like the largest size that you can get that is regulation size. So I do recommend doing that, because the thing is, especially right now with all of the flight cancellations and delays and issues that are going on with planes, you want to have basically at least a full day of stuff in your carry-on bag. So ideally, and I know this isn't going to be entirely possible, but ideally I am flying in on Wednesday. I want to have everything that I need for that night, Wednesday night, also Thursday, in my bag. That does include the Daisy outfit. So I'm not going to be able to get everything in my bag because the Daisy prop is larger than this bag. I think the hat might be as well. So most likely those at the very least are going to have to go in one of my checked bags, but I'm hoping that I can at least get most, if not all, of the Daisy dress in this bag, even along with a full other outfit for earlier in the day on Thursday and my pajamas and toiletries. So I'm hoping all that's going to go in here. And that's kind of the next thing, is you really, really need to make a list when you are packing for a trip like this. A list is an absolute necessity. So for me, I went through earlier today and made a list, and it's really big. This is my list. All of this is my list. What I did was I went through outfit by outfit in the order that I'm going to be wearing them as far as the costumes go. And I labeled what that outfit was, and then I said every single piece, like I mentioned before, of that outfit, from shoes and stockings, corsetry, all the way out to the outer hats and props and stuff like that. You know, don't forget your gloves. Don't forget your hair pieces even, or your earrings that go with each outfit. Notate every single one of those things on your list so that when you go and you put them in the suitcase, you can just cross off each item on your list and you know that they are there. The other thing is, the reason that I do this in order is because I pack in order. So I pack kind of in reverse order, really. Hi. Now Dora's worried as well. Yes? Do you need to be in this video too? Okay, Dora, you can be in the video too. So I do pack in order, and I pack in reverse order. I guess she doesn't want to be in the video. So when I'm going through and I'm putting things in the suitcases, I am putting them in order that I'm going to need them last. Now, for costume college, it's not quite as big of a deal, because I will, once I get there, oh, I just remembered. I need to bring extra hangers. Let me add that to my list. All right, now that that's settled, the other thing is make this list early so that you can keep adding things to it whenever you remember them. But when I get to the hotel, I go and I take out all of my outer layers of costumes. So skirts, overskirts, bodices, that's basically it. I take those all out and I hang them in the closet. And generally I like to get to costume college early. One of the reasons I'm arriving on Wednesday, besides all of the flight risks right now, is that I want to go on Wednesday night and iron and steam all of my steamer. Hang on. This is gonna keep happening, I swear. I like to iron and steam all of my costumes when I get there on that first night, so that I then don't have to worry about taking time in the room to iron anything as the week progresses or weekend progresses. So again, I pack them in the reverse order. So the things that I'm going to be wearing last, like the 1830s dress, those are going to go into the suitcase first. That's also really helpful specifically in that case, because we're talking about 2 petticoats that are really quite heavy, my ruffled petticoat and a quartered petticoat. So those are going to go into the suitcase first. Now, again, the outer garments I really don't necessarily put in that order, because for like a silk dress, particularly a silk dress lined with organdy, like the 1830s dresses, I don't actually want that to be in the bottom, or that's going to get really quite crushed by the other things on top of it. But for petticoats, shoes, etc., do those in reverse order, because also, like, you don't necessarily need to pull your petticoats out when you get there. You know, you can kind of leave those in the suitcase. Don't let them get all crushed up. But once you take the outer garments out, you're going to have more room in that suitcase anyway. So you can leave that suitcase out and use that space. The other thing that is making me feel slightly more comfortable right now is that normally the way that I pack, like most people probably, is the large suitcase, the medium suitcase, and then the carry-on bag that is like an actual suitcase. And it dawned on me as I went to go pull out these suitcases here, I actually still have my old large suitcase. So I replaced that in, I think, like 2019, sometime right before the pandemic. This has literally been used on one flight. So I actually still have the old version that I bought, and I bought it not because it was fully broken, but because it was wearing out. And so since I do have that, if, for example, I find that this medium suitcase here is too small, I could always go to the big suitcase and do that. The other thing is that I tend to, other than things that are very size specific, for example, my crinolet is for sure going to go in the big suitcase. And also probably like the hat box, that's also probably going to go in the big suitcase. But other than that, again, because I'm packing in reverse order, I tend to pack the things that are going to be used last in the big suitcase, then the things that are going to be used medium in the medium suitcase, things that are going to be used first in the carry-on suitcase. So once you've gone ahead and you've written down everything that goes with the costume outfits, that of course is not everything that you need for a trip. I don't care if you're wearing costumes like, you know, almost the entire day, you know, you are going to need other things. Even at the very, very least, you're going to need PJs and toiletries and underwear. But I go through and I write down every other thing that I need. So that's going to be things like an outfit for Thursday, an outfit for Monday, PJs, underwear, toiletries, etc. But of course, PJs and stuff like that, that's not the only things that you're going to need for a trip like this. I mean, specifically for me, I'm going to be vlogging Costume College. So I am going to need my camera stuff, you know, extra batteries, battery charger, etc. I'm not going to bring any lighting because that is way too big to bring. It'd be handy, but I'm not going to bring that. However, I am teaching a class on photography, and specifically it's also involves on self-photography, which I will be covering this in a video at some point. I just didn't want to do it before the class actually happened. So make sure you're subscribed and I will teach you later how to take pictures of yourself. I'll figure out how to film myself taking pictures of myself. One of the other reasons why I have not made that video yet. But that means that I need a tripod. I need like a camera mount. I need all of that sort of stuff for my class so that I can teach my class. And of course, not only am I teaching classes, I am taking classes. So I also went through all of my class requirements, like all of the classes that I'm signed up for. These are the workshop style classes where like it has a limited amount of people and you actually need to bring things because they're hands-on. And so I went through all of the supply lists for that and wrote down everything that I'm going to need. There's a little bit of overlap, which is good. And I'm not doing any classes where you need a sewing machine. You can rent sewing machines at Costume College if you do need them. So that is an option if you're flying, but I also tend to try to avoid those classes because I know that that's just going to be more hassle and stress of trying to get myself a sewing machine for those classes when I obviously can't fly with a sewing machine. But yeah, I went through and I need, you know, scissors, pliers, other scissors, needle and thread, you know, all sorts of stuff. And then there's the other things that you really don't tend to think about a lot, like business cards. I know I need to bring business cards. I also need to bring the ribbons that I'm going to be handing out to people at Costume College. And I have ribbons both like for myself and for this channel. So if you happen to be attending Costume College and you watch this channel, please do come see me and I will give you a ribbon for, you know, seeing me in person. Yeah, that sort of thing. I'm gonna feel awkward. This is the first Costume College that I'm going to where I have had this channel, so please excuse me if I'm like super awkward at Costume College. I'm just an awkward person. You also need to remember about the other smaller things that you might not think of, like headphones for the plane or flip-flops for walking around the hotel when you're not dressed up, or like a robe. Personally, I have a Victorian style robe that I bring and I throw that on over my swimsuits when I go down to the pool. Don't forget your swimsuit. So there's so many things that you just, I don't know, they're not costume related, but you know, you're gonna need them for going on a trip anyway. So that's why I do differentiate my lists into the costumes and then the everything else, and why you saw that I keep thinking of things to add to my list. Now, there are some things like the hangers that I will only wind up being able to add if I have room, but there's never enough hangers in the hotel rooms at Costume College for as many costumes as you're going to wind up bringing. So if you can bring some, like even just 5 or 6 hangers, it is super, super helpful. And I have found that that is worth the suitcase space from past years. Okay, I think that's enough talking about what I'm going to pack. So let's go ahead and just start packing and see if we can get everything in these suitcases. So a little update. The first thing that I'm starting with is hats, because I knew that this was going to be a challenge. I was really worried about that daisy hat like you saw, like I told you before, but it actually turns out that this hat box right here, which is one of my newer hat boxes, this one exactly fits the daisy hat. That is what that is right down there. The straw base of the daisy hat is the exact size of this hat box. So the petals are folded up on the end. I can press those with an iron though when I get there and they'll be fine. And then I've got the pincushion hat in here, which is actually a smaller and squishier hat than I'd even remembered, so that's great. And then I've got the little bustle bonnet right here, the little cat-eared one, and the feathers will kind of just like crush nicely here because they are bent feathers, so those should just continue the bend and they'll be fine. And this brim right here on the Tissot hat is not coming above the top. I've also pried the feathers out of the glue on this hat. I don't know why I glued them, what I was thinking. All I can think is pandemic brain and didn't think about having to pack them. But these feathers are now going to go in here, and I'm going to make sure I pack some light pink thread so that I can sew them back into the bonnet when I get there. The other thing I found out is that my props are the exact diagonal length of my large suitcase. So this daisy literally is this length. Hopefully it won't get too bent up. Likewise, the needle right here is pretty much the diagonal length. There's a little bit of leeway here on the needle, but the daisy is literally the diagonal length. So those are going to go diagonally across the suitcase, while the hat box most likely is going in this suitcase. We'll see, but that's going to go in here. The other thing I remembered is that for the crinolette, I'm actually going to bring it in pieces. So I'm going to take all of the bones out and roll them up basically in a little packet that I have, put them in the suitcase, and then the top bustle part of the crinolette, the Franken crinolette, that packs flat. And that way just the fabric will go in and I'll assemble it when I get there. So I decided I would go ahead and starch my petticoats before I do the rest of this packing for the video. So this one's already done. It needs to be pressed, but I just thought I would show you. I can show you in the mirror. Look at that. How it's standing up on its own. This is cotton organdy. So this is extremely lightweight fabric and it's supporting the weight of 2 hangers right now. That is how absolutely stiff this petticoat is. So I'll press it, it'll soften up a little, and then I will roll it up and put it in the suitcase. So I am definitely feeling very apprehensive right now because I have just packed those starched petticoats in the suitcases behind me here. And as you can see, the room is filling up very, very quickly. And I don't have any of the actual costumes in there yet. I pretty much just have like undergarments and shoes. So obviously undergarments and shoes do take up a lot of room, but in this case, I also have 2 early bustle gowns, the velvet dress and also the blue Tissot bustle, and those also take up a lot of room because velvet doesn't crush and the Tissot bustle is covered in ruffles. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling really freaked out right now. Dora is looking rather calm about this whole situation. I think she's gotten used to the suitcases in here. Oh, look at her. On the other hand, as soon as I came in here, Lion came in too and got nervous because I'm dealing with suitcases. Right, Lion? Isn't that right? Oh, poor guys. One of the key things with packing is knowing where things fit. So for example, I roll almost everything. So this is the dress that I want to wear Thursday during the afternoon that may not come because it rolls up really, really big. But I just rolled up the under petticoat for the daisy dress and stuffed it vertically in this little hole right here that was being caused by like the boot where everything was coming together, because I've got the other boot underneath. And again, you also can pack inside boots too. So like this boot underneath it has stockings in it already. This one doesn't have anything in it yet, but I will be putting small things in it so that it can keep its rounder shape and not get squashed flat, but still use up that space. I also, for corsets and stuff, I like to go along the ridges because, you know, you're always going to have these ridges in the back of a suitcase, and I like to use that little space and duck them down in the edges there. The lobster tail bustle, on the other hand, that will actually go in last probably because it will go in right on top and just get folded in to fit, and it folds flat. I know it's hard to believe, but I actually just fit an entire petticoat inside my boot. You guys, I just had the biggest roller coaster of emotions. I was putting stuff in. I put the entire Tissot bustle dress in. It fit fine, but it totally filled up the big suitcase. So the big suitcase is now totally full. And I put the velvet dress in. The only piece I have left of the velvet dress is the overskirt right here, which is kind of the bulkiest part really because it's the thick velvet. But I was like, okay, you know what? Look at the middle suitcase. Gonna be plenty of room for this. That's really the only thing left that has to go in there. And then I looked in the closet. My natural form dress is still in the closet. I haven't taken it down yet. It's not gonna fit in there with this. Like, there's no way. I mean, I really, really don't think so. It is silk, so it's thinner, but like the skirt has all those ruffles, and then the over bodice skirt thing is so big and has all those tassels. There's no way. So I think I'm going to have to utilize the really large suitcase, as in like have two very large suitcases and then have one carry on, because there's no way. So this is what I'm talking about. Those are the two, the medium and the large suitcase. Here's the small suitcase. There is still lots of room in the small suitcase, but that's because it also needs to fit pajamas and underwear and my toiletries and makeup and stuff like that. So that will probably all get filled out with that. That's the large suitcase, which is like almost a bit comical because it's like poofed out here on the side where I have made the skirt curve around the hat box. But yeah, one of the tips here, by the way, is that if you have a very large suitcase like this and you fill it up completely to the brim with costumes, it will be over 50 pounds. So like having a hat box in there really, really helps because there's no way that it can get to 50 pounds with very lightweight things in the hat box. The hat box, by the way, is getting filled. It doesn't have the hair pieces in there yet, but I think it has everything else. So that is my pelerine up on top. We've got gloves in there, all the actual hats, the feathers from the big bonnet that I had to take out. We do have one hairpiece, that's my comb Victorian hairpiece in there. And then tiara, this is all of my jewelry for all of the days. I put it all in that box. So yeah, lots of stuff already in there. There should be room for the rest of my hairpieces as well. But that is that suitcase full. And obviously with the velvet skirt put here on the top, this is like over full, honestly. I mean, I just did it kind of haphazardly, but I don't really want to roll the velvet because I feel like it will crush. And then the forgotten dress. The dress that is not yet in a suitcase. Oh my God, it's so heavy. Why is this dress so heavy? So yeah, does it fit? Because I don't think it fits. So, slight change of plans. I have decided not to bring the Tissot bustle. The main reason that I wanted to bring it is because I have only worn it to Victorian Festival and that it is, you know, big and showy and fluffy and people like it online, and that it was going to be sharing undergarments with the velvet early bustle. So I was like, okay, it's probably not going to take up that much more room. But actually it takes up so much room in the suitcase like you saw. And then also when I get to that hotel, that thing is going to be an absolute wrinkled mess because it's made out of cotton sateen and it's all the pleats and everything. And it's already not as nicely pressed as it should be from being in storage, but after being rolled up and shoved in a suitcase, it is just going to be a nightmare. That thing will take me easily over an hour, if not more so, to press. And you know what? I don't really want to be spending that much time pressing one outfit when I also have a lot of other things that I'm going to be needing to press. None as hard as that one though. So I have decided instead that I'm going to be taking my 19 teens dress. I haven't actually worn this 19 Teens dress for anything. I made this one last summer. I will link to those videos down below, and it is a copy of an antique one that I have in my collection, and I love it. I think it's darling. It's so cute, and I didn't get to wear it for ragtime either, so all it's been worn for is one photo shoot, and it deserves better than that. It's also going to be less cumbersome to wear during classes, since I will be wearing this during classes on Saturday. So yeah, I'm going to be wearing the 19 Teens dress. This requires no additional undergarments whatsoever, so this will roll up nice and tiny and can steam out. So much, much easier when I get there. So I am going to go ahead and try repacking now with this. The other thing that I think I might try, I now don't have the blue hat in the hat box. So there are less items in the hat box, meaning there's like too much extra space. So I might try to go with a smaller hat box and then just not have the daisy hat in the hat box, just have it like on and or around it. It might get slightly crushed, but it is also almost entirely flat. So I think that'll be okay. And not having that giant hat box in my large suitcase will create even more room. So at this point, I'm actually kind of thinking, maybe I don't need the second large suitcase and I can just stick with that second medium suitcase instead. So let's see how things can Tetris together. So I wanted to give you a quick little shot of what I'm doing here before I put in the hat box. I have changed to a much smaller hat box just for comparison's sake. That was the old hat box. So this is going to take up way less room here. But also this is the daisy hat. It is now upside down. I had made a little divot on the underside in the petticoat where this is going. And then this is socks filling in the top here. So now I can take the small hat box, put it on top of there, and that will fit in just fine right there, leaving a lot more room in here so that I can ideally maybe even put the natural form gown in here. So sure enough, I now have the natural form dress in here. This is the little tail part, and then the rest of it is underneath the 1830s dress here with the skirt over on this end and then the rest of the bodice over here. I did actually keep these not super rolled up, as you can see, especially the bodice, because there was a nice divot right here, and so I kind of folded it into that spot. And then that is all still sunken down. So this, again, I didn't really do much rolling, mostly just folding. And this, right now it's filled with a lot of air like that, but it will get tucked nicely in there and the lid will close. Really, once the lid will close, that's going to be even with the top of the hat box there. Ideally, I would like to have something over the hat box, so I may see about just putting something like relatively thin over there, even though it is pretty much at the top of the suitcase here, but maybe I'll even just kind of fold out the tail or something like that if I don't have anything else that can fit there. This is my hair. So all of the hair that I'm bringing is nicely in this bag. I am actually thinking about bringing my Joe wig too for both the Husf dress and especially the 19 Teens dress, which 19 Teens dress is tucked in here, so that's on there as well. But if I bring the wig, that just means that I have more hair to work with for that 19 Teens hairstyle that is so hard. By the way, over here in the outside of the suitcase, we also have A, flip-flops, but B, all of the hoops that go with the Franken crinolet. They're here. So this is the pouch I was talking about before. It looks like that. I made it for my first ever run fair, and it is so thick and sturdy. It's literally lined with canvas, and it's tied in a knot so that it makes a perfect circle, and the hoop seals just go in there. So that will actually provide probably plenty of cushioning for the hat box because it's right here. Hat box is right there, so that's going to be fine, honestly. But yeah, that's the big suitcase packed, and I already showed you yesterday how everything fit nicely in the medium suitcase as well as the little suitcase. I have now actually taken out the daisy dress and the velvet dress so that they can hang before I go on the trip. They're over here just so they don't get quite as wrinkled as they would be in the suitcase for like 5 more days, but everything fits. So all in all, I think that making that change from the Tissot bustle to the 19 Teens dress is well worth it because A, everything is fitting nicely in my suitcase. B, I will not have to stand for an hour at the ironing board or more than an hour at the ironing board. And C, honestly, the 19 Teens dress is going to be way better to wear to classes. The other one is probably going to be quite cumbersome if you wear it to classes. They do recommend not wearing hoops. I was thinking like, oh, it's my Franken crinolet, it's a little smaller, maybe it's okay. But honestly, I shouldn't have been deciding to wear that to classes anyway. So yeah, try to wear things that are not super large and cumbersome to classes because you'll get in the way of other people. So this is me taking the good decision to not be rude, basically. By the way, I don't think I mentioned it before, but I am not bringing the hat to the 19 Teens dress because A, I'm wearing it for classes, and B, I'm going to be indoors the entire time. I just felt like trying to fit that in as well, since it's a large straw hat, it was not worth the extra effort. So if I would have done that, I would have had to stick with the larger hat box, and obviously things would not have fit as well in that large suitcase had I stuck with the larger hat box. But luckily with the small one, everything fits great. So I'm very, very pleased with how things have worked out with the packing. I will be bringing my giant bonnet on the plane, so I'm sure that will be quite amusing to the other people on the plane. Hopefully it can go in a closet or in an overhead bin, but if not, I guess I'll be sitting there on my Southwest flights just like that. So I hope that this video was helpful for you. Let me know if you are going to costume college because I really would love to meet you. So please, please let me know down in the comments, and then also just please come up to me and say hi and introduce yourself and everything like that. It also helps if you introduce yourself both by your actual name and the name that you go by, like in the comments, especially if you're a frequent commenter. I do read all of the comments, so like I know what your names are, you know, based on your username. So yeah, please, please do introduce yourself to me. And if this video was helpful for you, hopefully you'll let me know that as well. Or if you have any additional packing tips, please do go share those in the comments. I would love, love, love to hear them. If you liked this video though, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I post videos here on YouTube once a week with my sewing vlogs out on Tuesdays and occasional additional videos out on Saturdays, but I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. That's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And if you'd like to help support all of the work that I do on this channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko-fi down in the description below, or you can send me a super thanks here on YouTube. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my Edwardian level patrons, Sharon, Julie, and Mirage. Thank you all so, so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my next video, and maybe in person at Costume College. Happy sewing! Are you good? I'm filming a video here, you guys. You're not being very conducive to filming, either of you? Oh my god, Dora. What are you doing now?